allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Good morning, Warriors. Great to be with you here today. I want to remind band and choir students that your concert is tomorrow, Wednesday, at the Southside High School. So hopefully we get a big crowd there. And that is going to wrap it up for our beginning of the day announcements. Make it a great day. The choice is yours.
Nice job. Kids these days are so entertained. They expect to have more than one way of learning presented. They're used to having more. You don't just lecture for a half hour.
You guys right here, your C chord. Yay! You guys right here, your F chord. Yay! You guys right here are A minor. Yay!
They have access to so much information. And if you're a teacher who has to be the expert and always have the answer, and never have the kids know something you don't know, you're in trouble today. You have to be willing to say to these kids, I don't know, but let's find out together.
This seat is called the throne. So when you play drum set, you're royal, okay? Because you're sitting on the throne. Don't ask me why, but that's what they call it, okay?
I think that's wonderful. I would rather facilitate learning than just be the know-it-all and have to fake it when I don't know it. You know, I'd really rather we discover together.
From my perspective as a teacher, I feel like our administration is always looking to change and always looking to find better ways to either motivate the teacher or motivate the students.
We have trainings all the time on different methods that come out that reach students, all students, because that's our motto, is to teach all students to high standards.
Like here, I can tell you based on the 15 people that are around me every single day, they generally put relationships first. And then they build the rigor off of that, and then they find the relevance. And what happens is, once you build the relationships with the kids, they're gonna do everything you expect and more.
I have to connect to my students. And even when I'm not here, I'm worried about them, because I want to know what they're thinking. How can I connect their knowledge to them? It drives me to work in the neighborhood that I grew up in so I can make those students successful as I was. That's important because they don't see me as their teacher, but as the ally for life.
14 years ago, I had a student walk into my room, and this was the first time that I realized that teaching's not just about what goes on in the book. It's about building a relationship with a kid. Taylor had some issues outside, and he and I built a bond where I realized now, today, he's a 30-year-old man, and he's in our community making a difference. And back then, if I looked at him as 11-year-old, if I look back when him as 11-year-old, I don't know if he would have had that.
I recently had a family that had a student that was struggling, and I worked with him all year, and I got a note back the last day of school saying, "You changed our lives. This was his best school year ever. Thank you." And that's why I do what I do.
My teachers here have been really, really helpful, especially last year I took calculus, and my teacher, Mr. Dici, we would have calc parties on Saturday and Sunday, so we would all come in for like 4 hours on the weekend and just do calculus. And doing all that, I don't know how I would have gotten my score that I did on the AP exam if he hadn't taken all that time out.
In middle school, I played soccer. Being African American, that wasn't really a big thing back then, so. But at my school, that's the only sport we had. And so, all right, well, I'm gonna go play soccer. And I couldn't kick with my left foot. I played midfield, I was pretty aggressive, but I could kick with my right, but I was not confident in my left foot. And I remember my coach pulling me to the side. It's when I first met him. Like, well, what's your name? Oh, Virgil Fart. He's like, you have greatness in your name. And that's the first time I've ever heard anyone say anything great about my name. Being a black man or young man named Virgil was not very common in my neighborhood. And this man, off from just having a conversation with me, saw something better in me than I could see in myself. So that off top allowed me the confidence to go out and try out for the soccer team. and he knew I had a deficiency. Great coach, great teacher. And he spent the whole practice just with me working on my left foot. So those 2 hours created a whole new life for me.
What drives us to come back every single day is watching the kids do something bigger than what they did the day before.
And it takes all of us together, but I will say that Weiser Park is a family. And if I ever have a question, I can go to my team, my coach, my principal, who is always every morning coming to your door saying, what can I do for you? And that's important.
Over the years, our being ahead on choice is what has kept us alive. And people can send their kids to what high school they want to send them to, that they can do that, okay? And so when you're happy with the choice you get to have for your child, you don't have to move out of the city to have a good school. You can pick what you perceive as a good school. What's a good school for your child?
Now, it is a lottery process, so sometimes if there's a school that's in really high demand, you might not get in. Some schools have plenty of spots available, so that makes it a little bit easier. But it's just nice to know that that option is out there, that I don't have to follow one path. I can kind of explore my options and then go from there.
The neighborhood schools allow students to walk to school, to walk home from school. You know the students and the families that are all engaged in that school together. We also have the magnet schools in the fine arts and in the STEM, which takes students from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, exploring music and art in one of our magnet programs. Also exploring science, technology, engineering, and math.
And I think STEM is fabulous, and I think there's more problem solving in STEM than there has been in traditional sciences in the past in math, okay? So that part of it's great. But the arts add a whole nother component to STEM, which is STEAM, and it is really beautiful when it comes together, and kids can present their information, their knowledge, their research, and they use the arts to tell the story.
Oh, let's see, here's Marilyn Monroe. Do you remember what she looked like? Remember Marilyn? All right, let's put it under.
Hey, stop. Hey, stop.
What happened?
I can't see.
Luke.
There's a communications magnet, and then there's a specialty in every high school. International Baccalaureate at Southside is one of my favorites. My oldest son has an International Baccalaureate degree, and it's opened doors for him and carried him far.
So the International Baccalaureate program was originally started in Europe. They had to have some way of having the students that moved from one country to another for college to kind of have like a common measuring stick to know that like you knew what the expectations were. You met a minimum bar of education. And so that's what it was kind of born out of, because there was a lot more movement in Europe when it comes to like where people are going to college. And then it's kind of spread from there, just because it's kind of recognized as a very prestigious program that really prepares kids for future education.
I had always challenged myself to take the highest level classes that there were, so I kind of knew that I should, and I didn't really want to, but my parents said, you know, just try it out. If you don't like it, then eventually you can just not do it. But in this classroom, actually, we were talking about restoring the wolf population to Yellowstone, and Miss Foltz was talking about how like the rivers like changed from that, like it actually changed the landscape. I was like, that is really cool. So I looked into it more, and I was like, that's the type of thing I would want to do all day, is like being outside in nature, like just studying animals and stuff all day, and being able to travel to remote areas to do that. I was like, that's what I would want to do. I just hadn't known that there was an actual job or degree for that.
In most schools, we have from very low, full free and reduced lunch, very low socioeconomic level kids, all the way up to two-parent families with college educations that have enough income for anything they want to do. And so how we help those kids learn together, how we help those kids fit each other into each other's lives, and how we help them understand their own learning style. And you might have a kid who is very, very bright. They call it twice exceptional. They may be autistic. We've had so many other specialties develop in special ed, and the kids are mainstreamed as well, and we didn't know that. Those kids existed back when I was a child, but we didn't know how to help them. And I think the schools, the public schools especially, do a really good job at helping atypical learners, kids who need a little bit of help figuring out how they learn what they do.
I had a student that was a struggling student behavior-wise. I tapped into what he liked to do most, gave him options, and the last day of school was hard, and I was wondering why he was sad and upset. And I asked him, well, what's wrong? And he was like, I just had a really good year with you, and I don't want to leave.
New Tech is a network of schools across the country, and now it's going into countries across our world, and it is a project-based, forward-thinking design of a school.
In the general classrooms, normally it's a teacher speaks and you listen, take notes, and you show your learning at the end with the test. Here, you're showing your learning with tests, but on top of that, you're actually creating a product that you're presenting in some kind of form. For instance, the freshmen right now are working in collaborative groups on developing an amazing race for Fort Wayne. The people from the Fort Wayne Trails and the people from the Parks Department came in and gave a workshop on where these trails lead to and what are the different areas that you could have your amazing race go to. And then eventually, like Monday, they're showing up as our audience.
So this is our Fort Wayne Amazing Race, and this is our idea.
Instead of the teacher going, that was great, you spoke really well, they're in the room saying, guys, I love that, but what did you think about this? So the kids are getting real feedback.
What we're realizing with our success with New Tech is the project-based learning now can dive into other schools now that we have a model. And now teachers are learning through New Tech's experience how to do project-based learning in all of our schools.
So we have to prepare students to work collaboratively for projects so they can get ready for the workforce. It's no longer you're behind your computer by yourself. You have to work in a collaborative team to get a task done. We pose a question to the students. We give them the tools they need to solve the problem, but they find the answer on their own. So I become a facilitator, not the lecturer in the classroom. I guide them to get to their answers, but the learning sticks with them because they found the answer on their own, and it becomes concrete for them.
If you look at our diversity in our classroom right there, a lot of times some of these kids would be deemed at risk. And when we're getting 99 to 100% graduation rate at the end of when they leave New Tech, and then they're using their 21st century skills in the real world, whether they're going off to a job or whether they're going to a trade school, whether they're going to college or the military, what we're applying in the classroom is actually something they can use. It's not something that they're learning and then they're just leaving behind.
Athletics is an extension of the classroom. It adds a different type of experience for the student as they go through their high school, middle school careers. It creates a yearning to be more than what they are. It's teaching grit, it's teaching character, and it's also providing something that the classroom doesn't always provide, and that is a kinship, a brotherhood, a sisterhood. You'll see, because of activity and most of our student athletes, they're more engaged in school. They love their school, and they stay attached to those schools for a longer period of time. You know, when I went to school at Wayne, I was a little big head sophomore and I was playing varsity football. I had a senior teacher come and say, hey, Virgil, you missed 5 tackles. It's like, I don't know who you are, but apparently you know who I am. So that just allowed me, or made me know that people are looking and people will support you. He didn't try to condemn me because I missed 5 tackles, but he just wanted to let me know that, hey, I see you, keep working. You got a ways to go. And that is one of the most loving things about Fort Wayne Community Schools are the employees that go to the games, that support our student athletes, ultimately that support the school. And it adds another type of value to the development of the student.
So currently, the Department of Education is taking on career pathways for our students. We have a whole department now that works with these students all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade, just to make sure that they're on the right path, that maybe college isn't the first thing they're going to do when they leave our doors, but that there's other opportunities for them.
In the past, that was everybody's agenda, was to get every high school kid into college. Like, you're going to college, you're going to college. But now we've realized that how do we help these kids that that's not their goal? And I think what we have done in Fort Wayne Community Schools is develop the idea that if we build these well-rounded students, they're not just ready for the book materials or the academic materials, they're also ready for the life experiences that they're about to get.
I just was talking to a third-year apprentice in the Plumbers and Steamfitters program. Right now, his total benefit package is $57 an hour. In 2 years, when he gets his journeyman's card, he's not going to have any college debt, and he's going to be making $80,000 to $100,000 a year.
I had the opportunity to have both of my girls go through Fort Wayne Community Schools. They both went on to get a 4-year degree. And I can recall, especially my oldest, I remember her first year as a freshman, and she called home and said, I have to do this 20 to 30 minute presentation for a particular class, and all the other kids in my class are just agonizing about this. And she said, I'm not going to have any problem at all. I'm prepared for this. I've had to do this in high school. This is going to be easy for me. And then the culture and the ability for my girls to be able to interact with so many different people, and us as parents to have that opportunity to interact with those students and their families as well. Just really set our girls up for success in the future with just working with absolutely anyone.
I can stand out in the hallway during a passing period and hear 5 different languages being spoken just as people walk by. I can see people wearing traditional clothing from different countries. Growing up in a 99% white school, up in kind of a more rural area, I didn't get to be around that. And I think that that's one of the most beneficial things that I've gotten to experience while teaching here.
It's interesting because the businesses that we have deal on a global basis. In fact, I tell kids that we're helping to prepare you for global opportunities, even though that global opportunity may be right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Your customer base may be in Europe, it may be in Asia.
We as teachers, I have learned so much more from my students who come here from other cultures.
At our school, we study a country or a continent each year, and just the wealth of knowledge that the kids gain, they say things like, I want to go to that country now, or I want to learn a little bit about their language, or tell us what they eat there. And it does, and it motivates them that there is life outside their little fishbowl, and get out and see the world and learn about each other's cultures.
As a student at Fort Wayne Community Schools, you have learned the value of working with others and collaborating. You have learned to communicate through a vast assortment of mediums. You have learned to problem solve and think critically. You have proven yourselves to have high character and a strong moral compass. Most importantly, I believe you are prepared to take your position as a caring and civic-minded member of our community.
We're showing results. Our graduation rates are very high. More people are leaving better prepared for work. So I know that business sees us as an important partner. And not only that, but they're promoting our district.
I've been teaching with Fort Wayne Community Schools. The upcoming school year will be my 20th year. I grew up in this district, so I went to elementary, middle school, and high school through Fort Wayne Community Schools. I graduated from Southside High School. So after graduating from Ball State, I want to come home and serve the district that I grew up in. As a matter of fact, the school that I'm currently at, Weiser Park, I grew up 2 blocks from here. So it's just good to serve my community, and I love teaching, and of course, I love kids.
I made fun of my mom for drawing with crayons because she was a kindergarten teacher and preschool teacher. I made fun of her all the time. And guess what? She has myself, my brother Todd, and Chris that are all in the district. And we all went to high school in the district, and we've all had options and opportunities to leave, and we can't because we're addicted to what goes on in Fort Wayne Community Schools. The different kid that walks in, the kids with struggles, the kids with high expectations, it's that kind of continues to mold.
I've been in the Fort Wayne Community School system my whole life. My mother was a principal, assistant principal, counselor, and teacher for 30 years, Fort Wayne Community Schools. So it's in my blood, and it's kind of hard to stay away from.
I'm a 3rd generation Fort Wayne Community School person. My kids have gone here, and they're looking forward, some of them, to their kids going here. And I think we are proud of the legacy of this district, proud of the future it holds, and really proud of how it's held Fort Wayne up, and Fort Wayne has held it up.